Hello, Oh, I always do that. It's like psych. Hello, everybody from Velocity of Money World. How you guys doing today? I'm Frank Dippold, for those who don't know me, and I have the honor and privilege of interviewing Mr. Craig Beggins today. Craig, how you doing, brother?
Great. Beautiful day here in Apollo Beach, Florida.
All right. So for somebody that's across the country that doesn't know where that is, what would you say?
I say we're between Tampa and Sarasota.
Yeah, between Tampa and Sarasota. So, and I've had the privilege of being in his office a bunch of times and speaking at his office, and they have a killer group and they're doing amazing things. And we're going to talk about, I love to have people on that are doing things differently, right? There's a lot of realtors out there. There's a lot of broker owners out there. There's a lot of loan officers out there. There's a lot of coaching companies out there. I hope that I'm doing something different. And I love people that are in the space that are making it happen. And you guys certainly are.
Yeah.
So let's do a little history. Let's do a little history lesson of, I know it's a family business and it started a while back with your mom and dad. When did Century21 Beggins Enterprises begin?
Well, let me take you back a little further. So 1973, my dad was a part-time real estate agent for our local independent company in Miami, Florida. And as he got better at that, he became a manager of that office and quit his other jobs. They started out very, very, very meek. Fast forward 1973, my dad's partner and broker was a guy named Bill Tarno. And my dad heard about this thing called Century21. It was a brand new thing, real estate franchising. So my dad convinced his broker to buy the franchise for Century21, the master franchise.
Wow.
So over the next 10 years, from 1973 to 1983, my dad and his partners built the company from 0 to 320 Century21 franchise offices from Orlando to the Keys.
Wow.
So I was 1973, I was 5. So I grew up in Century21, but not as a brokerage, because my dad was a master franchisor. He sold franchises, not houses.
Wow.
Right. So he sold the company in 1983 for a pretty sizable amount of money, and moved the family to Tampa, and became a real estate developer. And he bought this development in Apollo Beach, where I live now, and where our main office is. So we opened up an independent real estate company called Symphony Realty in 1991, and that's what we were, just a little mom and pop, literally a mom and pop real estate company. Me, my mom, and my dad.
Wow.
And then in 1992. A builder who built my house owned a Century21 franchise in town that my dad had sold his dad. And he wanted to be a home builder, didn't want the real estate company, and came to me and said, "Hey, Craig, why don't you buy my real estate company? I don't want to do real estate anymore." So I called my dad. He was working in Canada at the time. I said, "What do I do?" He said, "Buy it." Oh, shit. I got a home inspector at my door. Can we put a pause?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll talk for a minute. Go ahead.
Right there.
So it's cool. Sometimes we get curveballs, guys. No big deal. Just so you guys know, the size and scope of his organization is they have 8 locations in Southwest Florida, from a little north of Tampa, around Tampa, basically an hour circumference. I'm in the Sarasota area. They also have one in Longboat Key, which is literally my favorite place in America. There's a really great marina there called Longboat Key Moorings that I absolutely love. It's like a little piece of heaven on earth. And they have 500 plus agents. Okay. And we're going to talk about this, and he's going to talk about his trainings. But what I love about what they're doing is he's got a whole training system where they have video meetings, Zoom meetings every single day. They have trainings for their people, because if we don't have training, think about it. If you're a Major League Baseball player and you don't take batting practice every day, you're not going to get a lot of hits in the game. I was just talking about your organization, Craig, and the size and scope and where it is. And I was saying that you guys are the trainings every day, or are they 3 days a week?
No, every day, 8:30 to 9:30.
8:30 to 9:30. And I started to talk about baseball, because in baseball, like if you don't take batting practice every day,
right,
you're probably going to go back to the minor leagues or get released. So what you guys are doing very differently is keeping your people informed. And I've been on a lot of the trainings, and I've had the pleasure of speaking at some of the trainings, right? And we're going to talk about the synergy between our two organizations. But
we'll get 80 to 130 people on a class on a daily basis.
Yeah, and the scope of it is wide, right? You're basically training on everything and everything that can make them better.
What we're doing is really building a culture. It's a standard of how we do things. Because it used to be, I've been a broker for a long time, 30 something years now, 32, 33 years. And I was taught that the broker has all the responsibility. And a client of mine gave me a book, and it said how to be a broker. And it said the job of a broker is to create a successful line of agents that operate like they operate. Right. So I'm pretty high in standards and accuracy and good contracts and proper education and all that stuff. So it gets me the chance, and my management team, because I don't do it all by myself, to just talk. Like today, we were talking about writing a good offer, putting it in a folder, delivering it personally, putting a cover letter, explaining, this is the price, this is the earnest money. We've already checked out the insurance. We've already checked out the mortgage. Here's our pre-approval letter from our lender. Making the listing agent be able to sell our offer so it looks better to the seller than it would somebody who just faxed over an offer. Emailed over an offer. Gave up my age, right?
Well, listen. Some people still use them.
That's right. I haven't. Yeah. So like what we're doing, like right now, we're doing a mastermind group on Mondays. So we're coming up with very prescriptive tasks. This week is we gave them 3 ideas to shoot videos on. Why X is a great place to live. Shoot a 30-second video and post it on Instagram or something. And then we spend the second half of that hour asking what they did last week. And it's amazing. A lot of people are doing it. They're posting videos. They're getting conversations. They're starting conversations. And it leads to business. It doesn't happen every day. But the more you get out there and promote, the more you get. So that's Monday. Tuesday, we do a company business meeting. And that's where we log on the entire company. And we talk about business topics, production, sales, things like that. And Wednesday is usually a motivational topic, but we're switching that around now. It's going to be very, very prescriptive. How to make money, Wednesday and Thursday. And we're going to open those up to the public now. It's going to be very interesting because there's so many new companies out there that, it doesn't take much. You get a real estate license for 2 years, and then you can sit for the broker's exam. You never have to sell a house. You never have to do anything. But there's a lot of brokers that don't have experience, that don't know what to do. There's a lot of agents that work for those brokers that don't know what to do. And they're seeking guidance from YouTube and the internet. So we're hoping they can seek guidance from us. So we're going to open those up on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And then Friday is Master the Contract Friday. And we just go through issues. And this is my favorite thing. Issues that we as management dealt with throughout the week that we shouldn't have to deal with. So it's almost like having a master's degree in real estate. Somebody can learn from somebody else's mistake. And that's kind of cool. And I think the agents really, really like those classes. We get the highest attendance on Friday.
Wow. Yeah. And it's the education piece, which I'm huge on, right? Because I read this book years ago called The Blue Ocean Strategy, which talks about, how do you differentiate yourself when you're somewhat of a commodity? Yeah. And so there's a lot of agents out there and there's a lot of loan officers out there, but your people are so informed and so professional. And I've done a bunch of deals with them and helped their clients with the mortgages, and they're right on it. Like they're in the game. They understand what's going on. They ask the right questions. We've all dealt with, I'm sure you've dealt with some loan officers that are clowns. Yeah. I've dealt with some realtors that are clowns that don't know what they're doing. And that makes our job more difficult because sometimes they intervene when they shouldn't. And sometimes they say the wrong thing to the listing agent to create unwanted expectations. And then I got to save the day with Hail Marys. I had a realtor in Colorado go in with the listing and said, we'll close in 7 days. And then she called me and said, can we close in 7 days? And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Lucky thing was we had already pre-underwritten the guy. And I said, if we get lucky with the appraiser and they get out there and they get an appraisal back in 2 days, we might be able to. We actually closed that thing in 8 days. But that was lucky. But
now we can't say things like that because our title companies have to get HOA waivers. And that's taken 10 or 15 days. So we don't promise 10-day closings even.
Yeah, no, 100% no. So the level of professionalism is really intense. And let's talk about how, you and I met and that synergy, right? Because you were kind of starting to teach the people the same thing. And I've been singing this tune for a little while, just because I'm a big believer, as you know, that I believe everybody needs 3 pieces of real estate to retire.
Right.
So America right now is stuck. For me, it's mindset, right? They're stuck. They're like, I have equity in my home. That's a good feeling. And sometimes between husbands and wives, one of the two parties will be like, no, I like that. We owe 200. The house is worth 6. That feels good. And I'm like, I just had a conversation yesterday with one of your agents. the wife is nervous. The husband wants to do it, and they have 400 grand in equity in their home, their one home. And I said, dude, I could literally set up your entire retirement. Literally, we'll just show you an action plan, get an equity loan out of your primary. We're going to show you how to buy 2 or 3 properties. He actually, in particular, wants to turn this house into a rental and then move into a new primary. And I said, great. And then we'll use a little bit more money for 2 more rentals, and you're done. We will have a plan that, in 15 years, your houses are paid off and you have 12 to 15,000 a month cash flow. So talk to me about what you started to tell your agents at the beginning of the year, because it's exactly in line with what I'm talking about.
It is. It came about a different way. So I'm trying to find a way to motivate them to want more, right? And, we're a 31-year-old company now, so we're all getting older, and retirement is not too far away. And most of us are not set for retirement. So I said, why don't we start thinking about buying investment properties and doing this stuff? So I started teaching about doing that. And then you just came across my desk from Angie. I hired an agent named Angie Richardson. She works with you too. And she introduced us and said, you guys got to meet, because we're talking the same language.
Yeah.
Because real estate and the fact that there's so much equity in Florida. I mean, our properties have doubled or tripled over the last 3 or 4 years. COVID was a blessing for us in many ways. And so I'm trying to untap that. And then you came in with a formula that just made it so much easier to understand the way I was doing it. So that's how the synergy came together. Yeah,
exactly. And my formula came from me, buying real estate in the 90s, and it went up in value, and I thought I was smart, and I wasn't smart. They just went up in value. I had no idea what I was doing. Right. And then I bought stuff in 2005, 6, and 7, and we know what happened after that. But the funny thing is, actually, it wasn't funny at the time, but it was great lessons for me. If I had followed my formula, that wouldn't have been a problem, because it doesn't matter with the formula. It's all about cash flow, right? It doesn't matter what the value is, because we're not selling it. We're paying it off with somebody else's money, and we're keeping it for generational wealth. I heard Grant Cardone this morning talk about the difference between rich and wealthy. And it was really interesting the way he put it. And I loved it. He said, rich, you die, you leave some money to your children, right? The government's probably taking 40% or 50%, especially if you didn't plan right. And a generation later, it's gone, right? The wealthy, which is what I'm teaching, get 3 to 4 properties, get them paid off, put them in a trust. Don't ever let your kids within that trust sell it. You're not allowed. You're allowed to take 60% of the revenue, 20% goes towards a management company, the other 20% goes for repairs, and you're allowed to eat off that, because rents double every 10 or 12 years, right? And so if we take a fixed mortgage today, we get it paid off, and the rents keep going up and up. It's the greatest investment in the history of the world.
And it's generational, long-term.
Long-term. Like, I want to be the grandpa guy that's on that wall. And wow, he's the one who changed our family's trajectory. And we want to help people do that. You guys have a great area. And so a lot of my clientele is still in New York and New Jersey. I know nobody can notice that I have a New Jersey accent. You can't tell. But and they want to come down here. So it's perfect, because I have a lot of agents up there that I'm going to be pairing up with you guys. Apollo Beach is amazing. When you were gone for a second, I was saying Longboat Key is my favorite place in America. It's ridiculous. The Longboat Key moorings, that marina.
Oh yeah.
Heavenly.
Oh yeah.
Heavenly. So talk about where your locations are on the southwest part of the state.
Well, let's talk where you started. Longboat Key. We're the first commercial building when you come from Anna Maria across the bridge into Longboat Key. That's just a cute little office, a really dynamic marketplace.
Right by shore.
The water there is so pure. It's almost like the Caribbean. That blue turquoise water is just gorgeous. And the houses are pretty dang nice. I was in Siesta Key on Sunday, which is the next island up. And I saw mansions I've never seen before. I was like Palm Beach stuff. I mean, it's crazy what's going on over there.
Crazy.
And rounding up from that, we go to downtown Sarasota, which is a booming marketplace. It is just like one of the classiest places. They've got shops and restaurants and all kinds of artsy stuff. And, that's where the Rolls Royces and Bentleys and all these fancy Maseratis are driving around downtown Sarasota. That's a beautiful marketplace. Headed back up north, Sun City Center is an amazing retirement community. It's a 55 and older age-restricted community that was all by itself. And now with the explosion, that's in South Hillsborough County, with the explosion of all the new home construction, it's been enveloped. So it's its own little pocket, but there's all kinds of new home subdivisions around it that are just augmenting that market. So it's growing tremendously. Then our corporate office going further north is in Apollo Beach, which is about 10 miles from Sun City Center. And that's a big office. That's the corporate office. When we had employees that came to work, everybody came to that office. Now everybody works from home.
Yeah.
Going further north of Apollo Beach is Brandon, and that's Thomas's office with me. It's a partnership, and he's doing a great job there. And then going through Tampa, we have a new office we just bought, and it's not downtown, it's South Tampa, which is a really posh area. It's all the country clubs, doctors, lawyers, all the hospitals and stuff over there. Then going over the bridges to Pinellas County, we've got an office in Indian Rocks Beach, which is one of 17 beach towns along the Gulf of the Barrier Islands. And then going south again toward the next office is Madeira Beach. Yeah. That's another beach town, which is really crazy because my brother is doing a lot of new home divisions, new home building projects. We've got condo projects like crazy. We just closed up 38 units here. We're building 42 units here. We're going to start 140 units someplace else. And that's all built in marketing for our agents. So we take those listings and we expose them to our agents first. The one we just did, we sold 50 of them just to our agents in the first week and a half.
Wow.
And not to our agents and their customers, but a lot of our agents are buying them too.
Yeah.
And these are daily rental properties, which is a hot thing for Florida right now because it seems like a lot of people want to stay in the VRBOs or the Airbnbs versus the hotel rooms.
Mm-hmm.
But we're building hotel rooms too. So it's just going to be a hot market. Florida's the place to be.
Yeah. 100%.
So if you look at the map, you see we actually circle the whole Bay Area.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. And that's a huge thing when you guys have such deep relationships, you and your brother, your mom, what's gone on over the last 30, 40 years that, the properties have to fit in the formula that I show everybody, I call the Power of Four. And, it might have to be a vacation rental, right? Because values are higher. The vacation rentals give us a better yield because there's higher rents. And you guys have inside track on a lot of stuff. I mean, your brother is developing that whole Madeira Beach area, right? I mean, that's a very impressive project that you guys are.
We've got the zoning to do short-term rentals. You got to be really careful because if you're at an HOA or something, they're not going to allow short-term rentals. They don't seem to like those. But if there's no HOA or if it's a condo that was designed that way, we can grandfather it in and make our own rules. So we allow daily rentals. We have management companies in place that'll handle the rentals for you. So literally you can if it's a vacation rental the way we're doing it, you can't live there. You can go up there 3 months a year so you can use it. But the rest of the time it's got to be in the rental pool. Yeah. And that's just part of the city zoning.
Yeah, which is a lot of people from the north want to do that anyway, right? A lot of I hear every day, well, my kids are little. I can't move yet. I'm like, great. What we did to get into Florida was a couple of years ago before we moved permanently is we bought vacation rentals. Mm-hmm. We first started in Lantana. I didn't like the condo association in Lantana. They were very picky. It was a 30-day rental, but they were like doing background checks. It was a nightmare. So luckily, obviously the market was amazing. So we sold it and we rolled something into Captiva. One of the things I always joke about that I don't have in my spreadsheet is a hurricane. So that was interesting, but the good news is I had a house wrecked in the hurricane, guys.
So did I.
We're getting all the money finally from the insurance company. So we're going to build a brand new house, which is great because we had to fight with them for 9 months. But they finally agreed to a number that we can do. So, but the thing is, that's huge, the vacation rental market, because I like them because you can rent them 2-3 weeks a year or 15, 20 nights. And then you have a place to go the other time if you're, getting a flight or whatever. So
you find an investment property that pays for itself and you can stay there for free.
And you get to pay it off in, 15, 20 years. Exactly. Yeah. So it's great. And tell me about your numbers. So you guys, what did you do last year in total closed sale volume?
We did just over $1 billion for the last 2 years. And we've been so close. We've been at 850 million, 900 million, 950. We just wanted to get to $1 billion. And we finally got to just like $1.1 billion last year. And we'll come really close to $1 billion this year. This year is definitely a lot slower than last year. Yeah. But for 2022 and 2021, we did over $1 billion in sales.
That's so impressive.
That's a big number.
And one of the things you said at one of your meetings was very important for everybody to understand is that volume as a matter of units will be down by X%. I think you know the number, but it's actually showing growth because the values keep climbing.
Correct. Yeah, the sales volume is up. So a house that was 400 grand is now 800 grand. But instead of selling 2,600 homes like we did last year, we're willing to sell 2,200 homes this year. But we'll do almost the same volume because the average sales price is so much higher.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so a little tidbit on my formula, guys. In the Power 4, the least most important thing is appreciation. That's actually the least most important thing. And I think that's the problem when a rookie that wants to be involved in real estate, that's the first thing they think about. Appreciation. That's how you get yourself in trouble because We don't control that, right? The cyclical nature of the market will control that.
No, it's going to appreciate over time. You just don't know what time it's going to appreciate.
Yeah. Do you know that there's only been one 7-year period in America where real estate values actually went down? And that was 2006 to 2013. Ever. But if you kept that same property that you bought in 2006 to now, it's worth double.
Exactly. That's my story right here. My house was, it's a nice house, but it fell in value. The cool thing was Florida's property tax laws that most people don't understand is your property is reassessed every year. So let's say my property was assessed at $900,000. When the market crashed, they dropped my assessment to like $480,000.
Wow.
So my taxes fell. And then in Florida, your taxes can't go up more than 3% a year. So now I'm going up from 480, add 3%. Now my house has doubled. So if it was 800, now it's $1.6 million. But my taxes, I'm still paying taxes like on a $500,000 or $600,000 house.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
There's one more thing that's real important on that. It's called home portability. So let's say I sold this house and I've got a bunch of Save Our Homes backup cash, right? So if I sell this house and go buy a house of similar value, my tax is going to be $25,000 a year, right? And I'm only paying $8,000 a year now.
Yeah.
So that portability, I can port those savings. And if I go buy another house of the same value, I can take that savings and put it on that house and buy down that assessed value too.
What the heck?
I'm not kidding.
I never knew about that either. What's that called?
Portability.
Wow.
Well, Florida's where people come to retire.
Yeah.
And Florida prices go up. So if you bought your house here and it was a $150,000 retirement home, and by the time you move down here 20 years later, it's a $400,000 home. And if you if your taxes went up to your real value, you simply can't afford to live there.
Right.
You're on fixed income. So you can take that portability savings and move it to another house and still pay the taxes on the lesser amount.
Wow.
It's a retirement friendly state.
Yeah, 100%. It's really cool.
Yeah. Now the challenge is, and this is where I talk to you about, let's say I were to sell my house and the buyer looks on the MLS, they're going to say, oh, Craig's house is really nice and his taxes are only $8,300 a year. And the house next door is $22,000 a year. Let's buy Craig's house. No, because the house is going to be reassessed on January 1.
Right.
And the assessor is going to look around and say what this house is worth and then assess it based on the new value, not my saved value.
Right.
So a buyer has to be really careful to understand what the future value will be. And it's real simple to do. Go to the property appraiser's website, put in the value of the house you want to buy. It'll spit out a range of what the taxes will be.
Yeah.
And that's really important, especially for you as a loan officer when you're qualifying a buyer, because you can put them in a bad position if they're buying it based on a low tax basis from an older homeowner versus what it's going to be when they actually take occupancy next year.
Yeah, 100%. That reminds me of a little bit of a side note, but it reminds me of when people are selling commercial real estate and they're representing cap rate. But they're representing cap rate for the person who owns it now, who's owned it for 30 years, who has no mortgage. Right. It's like, cap rate is like the building and what it makes on itself, but it has to be represented based on, a 25% down commercial loan, because that's what really is usually going to happen. Right. Yep. So that makes a side note, but so that's interesting. So then back to your tax situation, then the homestead rebate comes in, but it takes almost a year, right, for that to kick in because you have to apply for it.
Yes, you have to apply for homestead exemption, and it's all based on the status of the property on January 1. So that's why we all rush to close by 12/31, because then on 1/1 we own it. We can claim homestead for that year. Right. I have a friend that I walk with in the morning here, and her husband bought their house in, I want to say 2016, and they came from Massachusetts, I think, and their agent never told them about homestead, so they never applied.
Oh, wow.
2016, 27. These are our growth years, man. 2016, 27. So they bought the house right. I want to say 630. Now it's worth like $1.2 million. And so she just homesteaded it this year. So for 2023.
Wow.
So she could have locked in a tax basis at 600,000 she did in 2016 or 17.
Oh my gosh.
But now she got a tax basis of $1.2 million.
Oh gosh.
Well, that hurts.
What a disaster.
And it's not hard. The title agent should tell them. The buyer's agent should tell them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, of course.
If you don't have homestead exemption and you live in Florida, you're nuts.
It's great. And that goes back to the education piece and why you guys are so strong and why I love what you guys are doing, because that would never happen in your organization. No. The agents have to be well-versed, because, doing loans in New York and New Jersey in the beginning, when I started doing loans in Florida like 8 years ago, it's totally different.
Is it?
The way the taxes work, the tax stamps, it's very different. You can't miss a closing date even by 1 day. In New Jersey, it's so funny because you have certain attorneys and certain areas where they just like they come up with a closing date in general, like 45 days after the inspection's approved. So there's actually like I'm
When is
doing
that?
pipeline, ridiculous. I'm doing pipeline meetings with my team, and I'm like, "What's the closing date?" Well, we don't know. Can we ask the attorney? We're not sure. Here in Florida, they're not messing around.
No.
That's the day, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes us have to be better, which is good.
We just had a situation with a contract. The buyer's agent wrote in on or before August 25th, which means nothing, by the way.
Right.
On or before means if people agree, then you can close earlier or later. But that's always the case. If you agree, you can do anything.
Right.
And that seller refused to close earlier, and this buyer demanded to close earlier, and was fighting that he had the right because it was on or before. I mean, no, dude, you don't. It's August 25th is your closing date unless all parties agree.
Yeah.
And then there's penalties if you don't.
Yeah. 100%.
You don't get experience here either.
Oh, when we bought our house here in Lakewood Ranch, I had a problem with my buyer in New Jersey, and I actually had to get involved in the loan. I wasn't even doing the loan, but I have connections, so I got involved and I made sure it got closed. But the guy was a restaurant owner. It was a bank statement loan. The loan officer that was doing it was a little bit of a clown, and I saw it coming. I was like, "Oh, we're gonna probably miss this closing date," because I needed the funds from the sale, and my lady tortured me. The lady I bought from tortured me. She tried to keep my deposit, whole 9 yards, told me she'd extend it for a week if I gave her 20 grand. I'm like, what are you, a mobster? This is insane. I'm getting held up right now. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we got it done. But if I wasn't in the business, we would have lost our deposit. Yep. Yeah, we would have lost our deposit. The lady was crazy. But so if you're an agent that's new, or you're an agent that's struggling, or you're moving from the north to our area, I highly recommend, guys. I've trained over 500 agents in the Velocity of Money stuff. I've dealt with thousands of agents in my career. If you want to have a career where you guys can learn, grow, make money, and be part of a great organization with a great culture, I would recommend hitting up Craig and his team and chatting with them, because they're professionals. They're not just a group of people who got a license and are slinging a couple properties every now and then. This is a great organization at the top of the food chain at Century21. And they're doing great things. How does everybody get there? You go, Jasmine. I was about to say, how's everybody get
my personal phone number's on there. I do want to talk about Century21 for a minute, though, because they are really an amazing company. We have over 9,000 offices in the world. That's pretty cool. My dad and I went out to China and made a presentation at their national convention. They have 6,000 offices in China.
Wow.
That's crazy. We spoke with their national convention. We were on stage for 45 minutes in China.
Wow. You speak Chinese?
No, we had a translator.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just last month, a local brand consultant here is working with a Century21 in Mongolia. Wow. And she said he needs some help on culture building. And would I talk with him? That was crazy. He spoke English. He was actually from Venezuela.
Wow.
But I did a Zoom meeting with him and all his management team, about 38 of them. And we talked for like an hour and a half one night, because 8 o'clock in the morning there is 8 o'clock at night here.
Yeah.
And that was cool. So to have that international reach. So anyway, not bragging, but I am proud of it. We're number 20 in the world out of 9,000 offices.
Wow.
So that's
20 in the world out of 9,000.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're number 12 in the US out of like 4,200, I think 2,400, 4,200, a lot of them. But the offices in the US are much bigger. And
wow,
we're double number 2 in Florida. We're number 1, and we're more than double number 2 so far this year.
Oh, congratulations. That's unbelievable.
It's work.
20 in the world is incredible. Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
That slide of, and every one of my salesmen has finishes with that slide. That's a big deal.
It is.
We made 21 in the world about 3 years ago, and then we lost it for the last 2 years, and we got it back this year.
Wow. And I'm going to this conference in Wisconsin on the 28th, 29th, and 30th. It's the relocation group, right?
Yeah.
I think
we have a bunch of relocation groups we belong to. So we have a whole relocation department.
Yeah.
And Ashley is our director of relocation. So that you're going to the American Relocation Alliance, which is a group of Century21 brokers that network together. Because we're everywhere. Yep. So if I got a customer and I sell their house here and they move to Colorado, well, I know the relo director in Colorado, so I just call her up and she'll give me a really good agent over there.
That's right.
Or I get a really good agent in Washington. And so they have this whole network. They're a very special group of people.
Yeah.
And they just network, and they know people. And then they go to our agents and they make it really simple. agents is going to actually just email, click on her link in her signature, fill out a form, and she takes care of it.
Yeah. And it's huge because Tampa's such a big hub now for business. And so somebody that comes from Colorado, California, Texas, whatever, they get transferred. The agents have to know the area. Am I moving to West Chase, Tampa, Apollo Beach? What, you know, that's the key to this whole thing, is getting to the right spot. The only reason I moved to Lakewood Ranch is my ex-partner in the mortgage company lived in Lakewood Ranch, and I kept coming down here, but I had never been to Apollo Beach.
Yeah.
And I got to Apollo Beach and I'm like, I should have moved there. I didn't know. I just kind of guessed. All right, we'll go over here. But you know, these people need to be informed. Yeah,
that's the cool thing I do is my boat tours. So on Saturday mornings, I make myself available to the agents, and the customers come from all over the place. And I take them out for an hour, hour and a half. We cruise around, and it blows their mind. I'll have dolphins swimming behind the boat, dancing in the wakes, and just see the waterfront towns by water. It's just a total different experience.
It's a different experience.
But the lifestyle of boating to lunch and boating to the Rays games or boating to the Lightning games, it's just all possible from here. And it's a cool story. Most people don't do it, but just the fact that you can, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you have the best job in the world.
Yeah.
You get to take people on a boat tour on your boat in Florida.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Not bad.
Good stuff. Well, so, awesome. Anything else?
I'll find a house and we'll get Frank to do it alone and educate you properly on that process.
That's right. And whether it's a primary residence, second home, or investment property, I've been in love with Florida since I played baseball at Florida Atlantic in literally the early 90s. But I had the Italian guilt for my mother, so she kept me in New Jersey for 50 years. And then finally I was like, that's it, we're moving. And I'm happy I did. And I'm happy we met you guys. And guys, if you have any interest in Florida at all, this is the organization that you want to deal with.
Cool. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So
proud of my team.
That's it. Well, that's it, guys. Craig, anything else you want to share before we jump off?
No, I'm very glad to have met you too. I really like your strategy. And when you told me that your goal was to help 10,000 people become real estate millionaires, boom, I said, that's it. We're on the same page.
Yep, 100%. And look, and it's everyday Americans too. And it's buying back America. I don't want to let the hedge funds buy all these properties. And everybody thinks it's 10 properties. It's 3. We got to get 3 properties paid off that spit out cash flow. Imagine in 20 years or 15 years at 50 years old or 60 years old, you could be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to spend 3 months in North Carolina. I'm going to spend a couple of months in Massachusetts or Maine in the summer. And in the winter, I'm going to come to Florida because it's miserable up there. That's amazing. That's amazing. And that's what I want to do. So let's help a lot of people do that. And we'll have some fun in the meantime.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Everybody.